everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Simsation Nation. As always, I have another exciting topic and another exciting guest to help me discuss this topic. I have been looking over some of the technological advances that I have that I use every day, and this is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and it's artificial intelligence, but I am titling this episode Artificially Intelligent, and I'll tell you why. A lot of times I'm producing documents, I'm producing things, and I'm starting to really get deep into ChatGPT. At first, I was a little iffy about using those type of things, but now I actually am becoming quite a fan of those things. And sometimes it makes me look and feel smarter than what I really am. And so that's why I'm calling this artificially intelligent. Before I introduce my guest, I want to tell you a little about my guest that's coming on today. So as an example of using artificial intelligence, I actually used ChatGPT to give me some facts about this individual. So I'll tell you what it says. It says this member is a notable figure in the United States military, holds the rank of Brigadier General in the United States Air Force, has significant command and leadership responsibilities, contribute to various aspects of the air and space operations, as well as broader military strategy, held a range of important positions, including commanding units, contributing to strategic planning and operational leadership, has a solid educational background relevant to his military career. He's had assignments like various operational and staff roles, which may have included deployments and service in different regions. He has been recognized with various military awards and provides leadership and guidance to personnel overseeing missions and initiatives crucial to national security and defense. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to introduce Brigadier General Reid Novotny. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. I don't know if I could have written a better overview of my resume than ChatGPT did, and I've never actually done that before. And it's good, though, because the first time I actually used ChatGPT and I said, "Who is Reid Novotny?" He came back with nothing. So we can start from the beginning to say ChatGPT is getting smarter over the last year or so. So that's awesome.
That's right.
I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
That's right. I will tell you, it took a couple of iterations. What I'm learning is that you have to learn how to tell ChatGPT to give you what you need. So the first time I did it, it was more general, and we'll talk about your previous titles here in a minute. I looked up the Honorable Reid Novotny, and it gave me some information. I was like, I don't know if that's quite accurate, right? So I had to kind of fine tune the input a little bit just to get the output that I wanted. So that was the Chat GPT version. And in a minute, I'll give you an opportunity to kind of elaborate a little bit. But
of course,
as we always should, I pulled your actual military bio. And I'm only going to read the first line just for the viewers and the listeners to understand who we have on the show today. And just as I read it, sir, you can tell me how that actually equates to what we got from ChatGPT. So, Brigadier General Reid Novotny is the Director of Intelligence and Cyber Effects Operations, National Guard Bureau, A26, Joint Base Andrews, Maryland. As the director, he oversees a portfolio to include intelligence, cyber forces, and systems architecture. So, that's the official first couple of lines of your bio. Which one do you think it had the better output and made it sound more interesting?
Well, I might have to vote for ChatGPT at this point, but I think it's also the IDSDE, our senior developmental education. If you went to National War College or, even read some of the Sun Tzu effects. So I think ChatGPT really did take my words. I'll take it back. Took the words of the previous person that I had just copied and put in my bio at this point. As we all do, I have this new position. Those are the official words at the top. It gets approved by the Air Force and probably made it a little bit better.
Very good. Very good. Not only do you hold the title of Brigadier General, you hold the title, and these are probably more important titles. You hold the title of a husband. You hold the title of father. You've also held the title of the Honorable. So with that, would you care to share with us a little bit about your background, your history, current roles and responsibilities, things that I may not have covered?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And of course, we should start at the beginning. Love being on with you. Big fan. We got connected through mutual friends. We know a lot of the same people, have similar background, but we've never served together. So this is a great opportunity just to get to know you a little bit better. Long story short, right? We all go into the military if we decide to, for certain reasons. I personally wanted to figure out a way to pay for college, and came from lower class kind of family. Figured out how to get into the military through an ROTC scholarship. Decided I didn't want to stay 4 years. I actually have been in 24 years. So there's something good in there in the water. Got married 18 years ago. And this is kind of the interesting bifurcation of my career versus other people's career, is that we spent our first 9 years of our marriage moving around the world, which was awesome. And then the last 9 years, I've been in the same house, in the same school district for my daughter, in the same, growing up in the same location. So it's kind of a different career field and a different career path, in the sense that I left active duty as a lieutenant colonel, 15 years, 4 months, 3 days, give or take, of active duty service. And then I've continued to serve in the National Guard, which is a lot of fun. So married, one kid, and we've experienced the Air Force in a different way than some of your other people that you've had on the podcast. But excited to serve. One of the reasons I got out, other than wanting to keep the family here in one place, is that I really had a drive to serve in a different way. Hence the title, The Honorable. I had the opportunity and the profound service to serve the people in my community in the Maryland legislature for a few years. And that is still a connection I hold very close. And I talk to a lot of those people very often. And as you know, and as your teammates know out there, you can't serve in an elected official capacity while you're on active duty. So that's, me from ROTC to today in a nutshell.
Very good. Very good. I will tell you, no pun intended, it is an honor to have you on. As you mentioned before, we have mutual friends, a gentleman that I had on a previous podcast session, Atlas Altman, who connected us and said, I think the two of you guys would be great together. And as I mentioned before, I've had this AI topic kind of on my whiteboard for a while, just trying to figure out who would be the best person to come on and talk to it. And sometimes I just take them and I put them in the parking lot and I said, you know what, the right person to come along at some point. And it always does. It always does. Whether it's a list of people I like to have on one side with no topic, or a list of topics with no people. Sometimes those things just marry up. So here today, awesome. We're talking about artificial intelligence and the artificially intelligent episode. So as I should have, I actually went to ChatGPT as a source of artificial intelligence. And I asked it the question of, well, what is artificial intelligence? We throw around the acronym AI all day, every day. And so ultimately, ChatGPT tells me it is a field of computer science focused on creating systems and machines that can perform tasks typically requiring human intelligence. So I've looked at your bio. I've seen your background and some of the great things that you have done and things that you are doing and will continue to do in the future. So having said that and listened to the ChatGPT version of what AI is, what does AI mean to you from your own perspective? Yeah,
it's a great question. So I've been thinking about it over the last couple of weeks also. ChatGPT obviously has the standard or its own answer of that. I'm really excited about a few things. One is the ability, as ChatGPT said, to do human type of things, human intelligence. But more importantly, I like customization, like extreme customization down to the person, down to the cell, and we can talk through that. And I also like the learning capability. As we just discussed at the beginning, I put in with probably a poor prompt from my side, who is Reid Novotny, got nothing. You gave it a better prompts and it, grew and knew more things over a year, and it got smarter in that sense. So I like the extreme ability to customize a wide range of things, and also that ability to learn. Those are the two things I like about AI.
Very good. Very good. Being in the position that you're in with the level of influence that you have and some of the experiences that we see, it's almost like when we were younger, at least when I was younger, I used to see things or cartoons like the Jetsons, and you would look at some of the technological advances back then and you were like, whoa, that is so out of this world. That is crazy. Believe it or not, like some of those things subtly get introduced into our lives that we don't even realize it. I can remember the very first iPhone that had Siri, and how many hours we spent in the house playing with it and asking it to do things and say things. And
course.
Now it's just a normal way of life, or whether we have the, Alexa in our home, or Google in our home, or whatever it may be. It's one of those things where my wife and I can actually remember. That's how old I am. I can remember the very first time they wanted me to ring up my own stuff in the grocery line, and I was just like, wait a minute, this is not how it's supposed to work. Now I actually prefer to go ring up my own stuff in the grocery line. So those things get integrated into our lives one by one, and it just becomes a new way of life. So I have the next question that I want to kind of get going for you is, with all of those technological advances, do you think that AI has the power to continue to make the world better? Do you think it will make the world worse? What is your perspective on that?
Yeah, we're going right into the meat of it, obviously, the conversation. So I'm an eternal optimist. So the examples that you just used, how they make our lives more simple and better. And I'll give you the example that I often use also, which is how do you know, this is a joke about a lot of things, how do you know if someone owns a Tesla? Because they'll tell you.
That's right.
That's right. But I don't own a Tesla for any reason other than the automation and the AI and the simplicity. The fact that it can actually allow me to, I don't want to say concentrate zero amount while I'm driving on my hour commute every day, but it allows me to concentrate less, and actually is safer. If I'm texting or emailing back and forth with someone, very dangerous and illegal. I would never do it. I'm just throwing it out there. But if I did, it would be better if I had a car that was driving me there. I truly believe, we are here only for a limited time on this earth. And I want to be the most effective person I can be. Now, extrapolate that out to society, right? So, even Amazon has some experiments where they tag all of their groceries and you just walk out. It just charges your account and you walk out. Who doesn't want an extra 20 minutes every time you go to the grocery store just taken away?
Absolutely.
And so this is why I continue to say it's such a positive thing. And we can get into some of the possible negative effects, but such a positive thing, because what would I do with those additional 20 minutes? Well, you know what I would do? I would be outside with my daughter in the pool. I would be relaxing with my wife and having a nice dinner. So that is my mentality. Every time there's a new technology, I can't say I'm on the bleeding edge of adoption. I didn't get the first Tesla, but I'm at if it's easy enough where the cost benefit of time of learning something versus implementing in my life, then I'm all in. I'm at the next edge of the Likert scale if you go through that. So I'm really excited about net positive. I do understand some of the negative aspects that might come up, but we can get into those too. But I'm a net positive type of guy.
Very good. I am as well. I am all about it. Time is money for me, and the more time I can save, the happier I am. Not everyone feels that way, and you hinted towards it when it comes to maybe some of the negative aspects of it. Having new technological advances, it can cause some people to become a little fearful. Long gone are the days of writing checks, right? You rarely see anybody in the shopping line with a checkbook. Every now and then you'll see someone doing it.
Yeah, I know.
It went from checks to swiping my card, and it's like, I don't know if I should be swiping my card. Where's the information going? Now it's like literally, I don't even carry my wallet anymore because it's all in my iPhone, and I just double click and do my face, and I'm out. And it saves me a whole lot of time. Not everyone loves that technology. I have friends, I have family members who are just like, no, someone's going to try to rip me off, take my money, things like that. Yeah. So we see the movies like Robot or movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the AI gets so advanced that it just starts to turn on people, turn on humans, things like that. Do you think that's what it is that's causing some of those people to have negative thoughts about AI or to be fearful of it?
So of course, yeah, I'm going to bring you back to a movie before Skynet, which is War Games, if you remember that, 1983. And they made WOPR, which I had to look up what this meant. It's the War Operation Plan Response. But it's about the concept of MAD, right? Mutually assured destruction that we used in the Cold War, and we have versions of that in the military now. But it was a computer figuring out that no matter who struck first in nuclear war, everyone loses. So if you go in with the thought that, we're going to create this Skynet that's going to be very smart, and then it's going to continue to learn, wouldn't the computer at the end, like I believe the computer at the end, if it's going to learn something, it's going to learn that this is negative. Now, I also believe there's going to be an iteration, just like the internet. There's going to be an iteration. We can talk about like deep fakes and information operations and those kind of things. But there's an iteration of learning and trusting that humans have to do. The evolution is very quick right now. We're at almost a straight up evolution of technology. But think about it. When the internet came out, when I was, I don't know, in high school doing AOL dial up, if I got to a web page, it was truth and it was fact in my mind, right? And you got to this web page and you got some information about the weather, or NPR had an article or something. That's truth and fact. Our society, though, which I think this is a good thing, doesn't necessarily believe everything they see on the internet, which, my father, me, whoever it is, my kid, knows that anyone can put anything on the internet. Okay, so let's break that back down with AI. Deep fake of one of our presidents saying, hey, this person's terrible, something like that. So they're going to look at it and say, oh my God, that's amazing. President whoever said a really bad thing. I'm going to share this. That's going to happen for a few years until people realize, hey, maybe that wasn't true. And then we have, as a society, some hesitation. And this is where I see society going. So as we talk about all this automation, we talk about all this saving time, and what will it get us to? I believe it'll get us to a very easy, simple life with all the basics, right? I just say, hey, Amazon, deliver me food X. And then what am I doing? I'm out with my friends and my family, and I know what truth is. You know what truth is, right? You walk over to a friend and you say, hey, what do you think about X? You have a conversation. You do a podcast with someone. You're having a real engagement with someone. So look at the evolution of just the internet, or look at the evolution of where I think we're in AI and automation. We just continue to go this way until people get used to it. And then hopefully we can get back to things like spending time with our family. I will get on a flight more often, go visit my father in California. I will go over to my neighbors and just have a discussion. That is truth. The things that we can see are always going to be truthful. Deep fakes, people will get over those. And that's why I'm internally optimistic about AI in general and technology in general.
Very good. Very good. You just reminded me about, potentially getting back to the basics as well, right? We're getting a lot of technological advances to give us more free time to do more things, but maybe some of those more things include just getting back to the basics. You bring up a good point, because ironically enough, I literally just had this discussion with a coworker yesterday, and we were talking about how so much data is being put out there. It's data overload. And now we're faced with another problem with trying to determine what's accurate and what's not accurate. So it's kind of reforming everyone's minds to think certain things that may not necessarily be true, to the point there is actually a whole lot of discussion out there about going back to just regular old newspapers. Newspapers were a thing at one point in time where, you had the kids riding their bikes or whatnot, throwing them on the porch or whatever. And even on military installations, when public affairs used to actually deliver base newspapers and things like that. It was kind of one of those things where it's like, it's printed, it's here, everyone's reading the same thing, and it's pulled from factual data. On that note, it kind of brings me to the question about jobs. I talked about the paper boy or paper girl from back in the day, right? Throwing newspapers on the front porch. We don't see that kind of stuff anymore, because all of it is literally one of the first things I do when I wake up in the morning. I grab my phone and I look at maybe the Bible verse of the day, the word of the day, and then the news. What's the news and what's the weather? It's right there. No one has to deliver newspapers to me anymore, because of the technological advances, because of artificial intelligence and things like that. Do you feel that the continued progression of AI will negatively infringe upon the job market as we go forward?
This is what I'll say. No one mourns the typewriter repairman. So I don't get up every morning like you. I get up every morning and look at my phone, see what's on the news, figure out what I'm doing that day. That's how I start my day. I don't get up and say, oh my gosh, I remember a day in which the typewriter guy had to come over to I had a typewriter in high school. Literally, I put my college applications, I used a typewriter. We had a computer, but I think I used a typewriter for most of it. So I am at the tail end of that, knowing that, but I don't get up and mourn those people. So got it. And this is, coming from a place in which I believe we can move society forward is the sense that we will be at a point, and I think it'll go quicker and quicker, in which we don't necessarily mourn those jobs that are lost. We actually embrace the jobs that come into the future. And this is not about taking an individual person, right, and moving them through this continuum, but it is. It really gets down to people at some point. How do you allow the person, and for example, who works at fast food, that you allow that person to do something else? Maybe they should be going to community college, right? That frees up some of the time, and we can reduce the price of education. We can customize education through AI. We can do all those kind of things, but they're not at McDonald's or Wendy's or wherever, Chick-fil-A, because we've automated almost all of those activities to include cooking of the food, right? So we have pulled people up. So again, this is back to the basics in my Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So the basics of security, like let's get after how do we 3D print and artifact and manufacture homes, right? Like let's get after those that AI can actually really help us with and make them weather resistant in any environment. And so we start moving people out of the scarcity up into the top of the pyramid, which is kind of stuff we're doing, right? It's talking about theories and talking about how do we move society forward. I would rather have more humans doing those type of activities than anything else. So I'm excited.
Very good. No, it gets me excited too. There's that fear. We use that word again, right? Where we feel like, well, most of my jobs are going to be taken by robots. Where I'm from, that's what I hear a lot. Jobs are being taken over by robots, things like that. So as we continue to progress, we may see one person that can manage. I keep using I guess I go shopping a lot or with my wife, but you see one person in a grocery store that's managing about 5 registers as people do self-checkout versus having 5 people there at one person per register. That would be 5 people. So now I feel like the technological advances or artificial intelligence is actually kind of filling some of those manning gaps, if you will. Do you agree with that? Do you feel like that AI can just kind of help fill some of the manning gaps in the workforce as a whole?
Yeah, I'll give you the example I like to use, which is dealing with repetitive data. I worked with someone that is in commercial real estate, and one of the things they have hundreds of properties, and they had 3 or 4 people going to the electric company website once a month. They would download a piece of paper that has the bill for the entire complex, right? So it might have like 10 stores in it. And then they would split out the individual things that all the electricity that each individual customer or leaser had, and then they would send them their bill, and then they might send it back in a check, and then they would have to deposit that check. Okay, that person's job could be automated like tomorrow, yesterday, right? So like I'm excited about just business processes and actually how do you augment people in their current jobs? Because now what can that person do? That person can go to those leasees and say, hey, instead of X, right? Instead of using your power in this time, why don't we augment it? Why don't we turn the degree up one time, during the summer or down during the winter or whatever way it is to save you a little bit of money? And they can start thinking about how do they make that process better? How do they make the customer experience better and really deep dive into those kind of problems that they're trying to solve versus going to a website, looking at a PDF, downloading the information. I mean, like, it blows my mind. And like, this is why I get so frustrated too with our great Air Force is that we are give or take 10 years behind in our just simple automation. And like, I want our airmen to do inherently airman things, and I want them to get after what they need to do.
That's very good. And it is actually a very perfect segue because we've established early on that you are a senior leader in the United States military, in this particular case, the world's greatest Air Force. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of things come and go. I think you and I are both, in my opinion, we are in a really good position in our lives because, as you mentioned, we saw how far technology has come, and we were able to transition into more technological advances. We saw the typewriter. We saw what it was like to go to the library and find your book and get an encyclopedia and go to the certain page to get the paragraph you need and do the reference and all that stuff. Now it's just all automated. So we were in the middle of seeing that transition versus someone who maybe experienced that and never got to see what we experience today, or those that are being born into this and never got to see what we experienced back then. We actually get to see both sides. So, as a military member, you mentioned the working smarter, not harder, which I am a huge fan of. There are so many things we can do to work smarter. One of the conversations I had with a coworker the other day was someone gave the analogy that in the military, we are filled with great leadership, but we're behind when it comes to technology. In the civilian world, they are filled with great technological advances, but maybe lacking the leadership. And it's like only if we can make those two things mesh together. So with that, as a senior leader in the United States military, how do you feel that AI and or any other technological advances can help us be more productive in the U.S. military?
Yeah, so this is actually something, again, like you, I think about nearly every day. I can tell you that we will get there from here, but I'll give you a couple of marginally negative examples of senior leaders that are understand the frustration, right? So I walked into this, he actually just retired, three-star general's office, and he was talking about what he believed in the IT or the A6 world, right? The IT CIO world was doing. And he said, we are delivering yesterday's technology tomorrow, right? And I think you've heard quotes about that in the military, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating that we can walk home and see our iPhone, and of course we have iPhones in the military, but like we can walk home and see the capacity and capability on the internet and then not have it in the workplace. So what are we doing? There are a lot of pilots going on right now trying to get us better in a couple of different ways. Business automation is one thing, and I think the business IT automation will get us the capacity and capability to move into truly warfare, right? So we'll go business automation and then into warfare. Business automation, I am all about it. I am literally in discussions with how do I get a company on contract to figure out a way in which when I get a tasker, as in, hey, Reid Novotny, what would you present in blah, 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 presentation coming up soon, that the system drafts the product and I review it. Can we do that today in our technology? 100%. 100% in the internet. Can we do that today in the Air Force? 0%. 0%. So like I want the task to come down and then I get a bullet background paper, a PowerPoint, or whatever it is. And I look it up and down. I go, yep, that's about right. I'm going to present that.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
But this is the frustration, right? You're like, you can see that on what you do at home and what, all of our kids have access to. That is totally possible. So for you as a fellow cyber person, I literally am working on a contract to try to figure that out and then share it to the Air Force, share it to the department, right? So, and also reaching out to other people. I don't want to say it's invented here, right? Everyone kind of is scratching around something like that. But then we drive down to, that's awesome, but then we can drive down to also military applications. I think the first thing that I would say about all wars in my mind, from the beginning of time to end of time, start in someone's mind. If that makes sense. So like, it does. No matter what we do, it's all about maybe the president of China or the president of Russia starting a war or stopping a war, right? It's in someone's head. So go into the past or into the future. I don't think that will change. So what do we do? Like, for example, a good example is a couple of months ago, Iran threw 300 UAVs and rockets toward Israel, and we shot them all down. So this is my question for you in the audience. Was that a physical dominance type of thing, or was that an information operations? Does Iran now know that we can shoot down 300 things in the matter of that and nothing gets through? Like, what did that really affect? I think that really affected the people around the world watching this, right? This is information operations at its best. So I think AI has a way to augment that, right? So now what are they going to do? We're going to look at our intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, all the information, the petabytes of data we get a day, and how do we find, one target set? How do we loop those all together to find something that China or Russia or one of our other enemies, in the sense of great power competition, is going after? Like, how do we use AI to free up an airman to think through what they're going to do? And then down to the actual physical. And this is what I get to. People talk about Skynet, and do we have these drones going over and like trying to kill an individual person that they're autonomous, if that makes sense. But think about it this way. If you're in an F-16 or F-35 and you release munition, that's it. That's kind of the last time a human touches it. So when it can go for miles and hit something via GPS or laser or whatever it is. So all I'm really asking, right, is like, make a leap of faith. If we have a self-flying F-35 variant in the future, and we program it in bad guy target X, bad gal target Y, from the ground station, and it goes and does that, how different is it from launching a missile right now that's guided by something else that's actually a computer? So again, I don't think we need to adopt these things and think through them. A lot of times in the military, obviously, we do tabletop exercises. We get all our lawyers involved. International law is going to have to change, which is exciting to me. But I think we're on a good glide scope, to use the air term, glide scope, to actually getting to a more efficient way to fight our wars. Because go back to the beginning of the U.S. or any war, we as a society are no longer able to accept the amount of casualties as a society, right? And this is not like physical, this is like emotional. So if we have more automation, more AI, with the fact that we can prove to all of our enemies that we can stop things or we can overpower them, then we actually end up never going to war. And that's back to the IO part. So that's my whole diatribe on where I think AI is going, both in the physical and the information operations. But again, I go back to my thing, eternally positive. Like, let's get after these things. Let's get after the automation of simple tasks all the way up to those autonomous vehicles.
That's very good. There's a lot of great stuff there, and you're getting me excited about it. Seriously, less boots on the ground, meaning less opportunity for people's lives to be lost, and things of that sort. I have been a very loud voice for years that. And it's probably a little bit of an exaggeration, but I have always said that the next World War, World War III, would be a cyber war. Now, I get a lot of strange looks when I say that, but I think ultimately, what I really mean is the next world war will be driven by cyber and information ops. It's very hard to find anything that we do in the military that doesn't involve some type of ones or zeros. There's always going to be some kind of connection, no pun intended, in some form or fashion. And I think that's something that's got to be considered as we continue to fight our wars. And just going back to a comment you made earlier, as a staff officer on the joint staff right now, I would love to receive a task and have it present something to me to just simply approve. And that just got me super, uber excited. That would be amazing.
I'm working on it, my friend.
I will tell you something that was released very recently. It's called Nipper GPT. Very, very similar to ChatGPT. And we've been experimenting with that at work and just trying to get to know it. So that lets me know things are starting to move in the right direction in that aspect. Which brings me to the next question. Another thing that I have always been a proponent for is the fact that in order to understand the vulnerabilities of a system, we must first understand the system itself. I'll use something very low level, like TikTok, for instance. There's a lot of opinions about TikTok and how much of a danger it is and things like that, and that's accurate in a way. But if we want to protect against things like that, how can we do so if we don't necessarily know how to use those systems or know what those systems are about or what they consist of? And I also believe that with every great technological advancement comes an equal or greater vulnerability. Do you agree with those thoughts, disagree with those thoughts? Just what are your thoughts on that?
So first, starting off with TikTok, which is an interesting topic that it comes up pretty often. Back to my information operations concept, is that I am one of the few people, I think, probably maybe in the world, one of the few people who've actually read the end user agreement that's 42 pages, and I printed it out And I do not allow my daughter to use it, and I advocate against it. I just did a speech with about 60 international junior officers, mid-grade officers, and I asked that group who has TikTok on their phone. And only one brave soul from one of our Five Eye partners raised his hand. And then a couple of people said, "Oh yeah, my kid has it," or whatever. And I just asked them, "Have you read it? Have you read it?" And again, I'm guilty of not reading all the end user agreements of what it has out there. But TikTok's an interesting one because TikTok is owned by a U.S. company that's owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company. And the difference between the ByteDance version in China and the TikTok version in the U.S. Is night and day, right? One's very educational. How do we get better? And the other one is, cat videos. I don't know. People dancing on TikTok. And I really have never, I'm sure I've seen stuff on TikTok, but I've really never seen much of it. So to your point about, do we have an equal and opposite kind of effect with technologies? I am actually a pro technology zealot, if that makes sense. So I am bullish. I'm not going to say zero, but I am bullish. Maybe it's 70-30, 60-40 at least on the amount of good that a technology like AI can do. For example, God bless, I lost my mom almost 13 years ago. She was 66, right? She went through cancer. It's terrible, right? Never a good time to lose a parent or any loved one. Do I honestly think an AI-driven individual chemo plan could have extended her life? I think so. Why not, right? That's what we're getting after with an AI that can figure out exactly what's attacking your body. And another thing, it's healthcare related. I have twin nieces in their 20s now that have a rare genetic disease that's a genetic defect. It's a problem with the chromosome. Can we use a CRISPR-based whatever in utero? And CRISPR, for the audience, of course, is the ability to, affect some of those cells and genetically modify things. Can we use that to make that person not have all these problems? I think so. Now will someone use that for evil? Yes. Someone will get away with trying to figure out a way to make that net negative. How will they release the next COVID-19 that is more damaging to the entire world? Someone's going to try to figure that out. But I am eternally optimistic in that we will put in guardrails. And I don't mean guardrails necessarily illegally, because some of this stuff is going too fast. We can't have our politicians just trying to figure this out. Been there, done that. We don't have a lot of AI experts in at least the Maryland House that I was part of, but we don't have a lot of AI experts in our elected officials. So we need people to get after experimenting with this, and then know that our laws here are a reflection of our societal norms, right? And we'll get after that. So I am a net positive type of person with AI specifically, and I think the healthcare is very important. I think transportation, not that Tesla is the only brand, but I think transportation with AI augmentation will get rid of both traffic jams and deaths and accidents. But then talk about transportation in the negative positive. This is a famous problem set, which is psychology, which is, hey, you're going down a path, right? It's a train car, right? You're going down a path and you can kill one friend or 20 people you don't know. What do? And this is why I go back to society. People will implement these algorithms to make those decisions, and it'll be based on what society believes is best. Right now, I haven't done a ton of research, but I believe right now, if you're driving an automated car, it actually protects the people inside most, right? If it has to make that kind of decision. But then I will go back to humans make bad decisions and slow. So got it. We might disagree, and we need to figure out where the balance is of that kind of very specific millisecond decision, but we can get to an answer. The alternative is really poor drivers who might be under the influence of something, and then they're going to kill everyone, right? So you got to think about the risk of not adopting these technologies versus the risk in adopting these technologies. And that's where I think we need to lean into some of these technologies and go faster in determining what's best for our society.
That is really good. You're giving me all kinds of future podcast idea topics. So this
Awesome.
is really
You're
good.
welcome.
This
You're
is
welcome.
good. I'm just thinking about cyber ethics, cyber law, and the point you just made, which is really going to have me thinking for a while, is the risk versus vulnerability. Like, people were just like, automated cars on the road, that's going to create more accidents. Well, now I'm thinking about, well, is it? Is it going to prevent more accidents? That is a really interesting point. Really interesting point. This has been awesome. I want to ask you and leave you an opportunity if you have any just closing thoughts, closing remarks that you want to leave with the audience.
Sure, I appreciate it. First of all, obviously this is an awesome experience for me, and I appreciate you doing this, not only with me, but all the other great leaders and great people out there that you've had on your podcast. So that's awesome. Second, and this is exactly an example of what I'm about to say, but I think we win through our networks. And however you define winning, I think you do that through meeting people, engaging with people, staying in touch with people. And honestly, when you boil it down to it, people want to help other people. That's like a human characteristic. So I will say this to you. Obviously, you are part of my network now, and I will say it to your audience. Google me first.last@usaf.mil. Send me a note. I guarantee I personally respond back to every single email I ever get, to include when I was in public office. People would say, oh, this is, exec or, a secretary or something like that. No. Like, I care about people. I want to help people get better. I want you to be part of my network. And I mean, you specifically, but also your audience to be part of my network, because I know we as a team can do better together. So again, I appreciate you allowing me to be on here. And I'm just looking forward to continuing to be in your network.
Very good. You just keep hitting with some great knowledge bombs. And I will tell you, because it's ironic that we're talking about AI and how to make our jobs better, but we've also still touched on the fact that human interaction is still important while we do that. Even when you type emails now or you're in your phone, it can provide a suggestion on how to respond to an email. I've experimented with it, but you still bring on that human aspect that we can't get rid of totally. And it's like, I'm going to personally respond to these things, and know that people they're not going to get a response from my exec. They're not going to get a response from some technology. So I like the fact that you're still holding on to that piece as well. Before I let you go, I know you have seen before on a couple of episodes, I like to end every episode with a fun game of what do you prefer, where I ask you 10 questions and you tell me what you prefer. So are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. You can strike off either Monday or Friday from your work week. What would you choose?
Friday.
Would you rather have $20,000 or 2 million Instagram followers?
$20K.
$20K. Number 3, would you rather talk like Yoda or breathe like Darth Vader?
Wow, Yoda, I guess.
Very good. Number 4, would you rather live in a tiny apartment in the city or a house in the middle of nowhere?
I got to show you my backyard, house in the middle of nowhere.
Very good. Number 5, would you rather work a short shift of intense work or a long shift of relatively relaxed work for the same amount of pay?
So my life is intense for a long time. So it's the worst of both worlds. But I like intense, short and intense.
Very good. Number 6, would you rather become a chess grandmaster or an elite kickboxer?
Wow, chess.
Chess. Number 7, which would you choose? Being the best at a terrible job or being the worst at your dream job?
Worst at my dream job.
Worst at your dream job. Number 8, which would you rather be? A great boss, but a terrible human being, or a bad boss, but a great human being?
Always a great human being.
Always a great human being. Number 9, would you rather play the main character in a bad movie or a supporting role in a good movie?
Supporting role.
Supporting role. And last but not least, would you rather never listen to old music again or never listen to new music again?
Never listen to new music. I'm good.
Never listen to new music again. That one's a tough one. I didn't know how I was going to answer that one either when I looked it up. Well, first of all, thank you for playing along with the game, first of all. But most importantly, thank you for your time. I know how busy you are. Thank you for coming on to share your experience, your knowledge, your expertise, and your perspective on artificial intelligence and just everything else that we talked about. It has been an honor to meet you, first and foremost, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
It's great having you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right here. He said he will get back to you if you have information, questions. That shows great leadership. You've heard a great story from a great person, and it's been a pleasure having you on, sir. And to the audience, thank you for tuning in, watching, listening. Until next time on Simsation Nation, I'm out.